This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, how you doing, Jason?
I'm doing all right, John. Just getting over a cold. It's like happy to be,
Oh, sorry to hear about that.
yeah, but like mostly back to normal. It's like glad to be talking about comics now and all.
Cool. What do you have on tap for us tonight?
All right, well tonight going back to that inexhaustible well that is Garth Ennis and war comics, because while I've talked a lot about Ennis over the years, and I've also talked a lot about how much dude loves writing war comics because he grew up reading them. It's like in the it's like in the British comics scene. It's like and of his some of his favorite stuff was stuff published in the dual title series Battle Action. Basically, like the series was originally two comics that were like originally like separate titles. There was Battle, which is war comics, and Action, which is just more modern day action thriller stuff. That eventually it's like like things like Action was like facing like diminished sales and face of public outcry, and Battle was apparently just going going through one of its periodic downturns, I assume. But then someone at the publisher decided, hey, why not just put them together and see what happens? And well, the result was Battle Action, and and if you're to take Ennis at his word, and I certainly am, it's like it resulted in a new high point for both comics. As he describes it, we had like titles like Hellman on the Russian Front, Crazy Killer, The General Dies at Dawn, HMS Nightshade, War Dog, Cooley's Gun, Death Squad, Fighting Man. It's like, and then a little series called Charlie's War, which Ennis regards as one of the greatest, not just the greatest war comic of all time, but probably the greatest comic period. Now, a couple of these might actually sound familiar to longtime readers and listeners, such as HMS Nightshade, Fighting Man, and War Dog, because those were originally published out here as part of the Garth Ennis Presents Battle Classics 2-volume hardcover series. Kind of get the feeling that they were trying to go for more than just 2 volumes, but apparently the market out here for like old school like British war comics was kind of marginal at the time. It's like even when you got put Ennis's name at the top of things. Well, this year is a it's like is an anniversary year for the for the Battle Action title, and well, apparently like someone at Publisher Rebellion decided to ask Ennis if he'd be interested in like writing like a tribute to a lot of the series that he it's like that were published at like in it's like in Battle Action. I can only imagine his reaction was, "Boy, would I!" Because well, one of the things that's Mark Ennis's career, it's like in American comics, is his noted contempt of American superhero comics. That's mainly because he grew up reading like a lot of the stuff that was published in Battle Action, and so when you like start putting the like fairly moderate and conservative like American superhero stuff in the like in front of someone who is just like grown up like knowing nothing but war, unrelenting war, death, and actions, and sharks with hooks in their jaws. It's like it's like like people who grew up on that kind of stuff. They're going to be they look at this and go, "What really?" But but on the Battle Action, special, it's kind of interesting because it's basically this Ennis, like basically indulging in it's like in what a lot of American superhero writers do. Like they like American superhero writers love to write the stuff that they grew up reading and make their own mark on it. Um, Brit British comic stuff, it's like didn't really have that option. Outside of perennial stuff like say Judge Dredd. So for Ennis to get the chance to actually like write some of his favorite characters, well, it's basically like this is like Ennis getting to play with the toys of his youth, and fortunately it's like a lot of the stuff here it's like is actually like entertaining enough on its own terms that it avoids the trap of just hey it's like he of something feeling like a general nostalgia exercise, such as the first, but it's not a nostalgia exercise, but you can certainly see the fanboy or the the, the kid in Ennis going, hey, what if we had like legendary legendary English fighter pilot Johnny Redburn, or AKA Johnny Red, fighting like the infamous Screamer of the Stukas, and that's what we get in the very first first story, like Johnny Red versus Screamer of the Stukas. Well, Johnny Red was a English fighter pilot who was basically who was like quickly drummed out of the RAF due to a manslaughter charge. He eventually wound up part of a Russian um, fighter fighter pilot crew, and basically like led them into glory. It's like and against like impossible odds time after time. And that's and Red is Johnny Red is one of the seminal comics here. Screamer the Stukas apparently is like something of a like a cult favorite that Ennis latched onto because Screamer is just basically a really nasty um, fighter um, fighter pilot for the like for the Nazi side who just apparently like had like a memorable title that like ran for a few months like in battle action. And this first story basically is basically has Ennis teaming with artist Keith Burns as um as Johnny gets a challenge from his longtime nemesis Eric von Jurgen to like finally have it out once and for all. It's like in a one-on-one duel. Now, catch is though that Jurgen has also been press ganged by Screamer into flying as his escort for their latest mission. And so this is basically just a distraction in order to get like Johnny's crew. It's like occupied so that the Screamer can get through his mission. So basically, and while Johnny doesn't know this, he's not an idiot, so he's kind of realizes what's going on here. And like over the course of the story, it's like there's some decent twists. It's like and some great and some great aerial action, courtesy of Burns. In fact, it's like Ennis and Burns had previously teamed for an 8-issue Johnny Red miniseries, which I'll be talking about later. But it's like this is like a nice it's like a nice little short to like show you the appeal of both series, but also just hey, it's like Ennis is playing with the toys here. It's like and it's like and like there's enough twist to make it worthwhile. It's like for like an 8 to 12 for a 10 to 12 for a 12-page story, it's pretty solid, and all the stories here are of similar length, such as the Sarge, which basically is about the title character, it's like a British sergeant, Jim Masters, who's basically just trying to keep his team alive as they fight from one end of World War II to the other. This has some nice art from PJ Holden, and it's basically just a it's like a like a big action scene as the it's like as the sergeant's crew come across like a bunch bunch of German soldiers holed up in a building, and they've got to use each of their special skills in order to get in order to get all it's like survive the attack and like take out all the people who are coming their way. It's a pretty solidly crafted story that basically just has it's like has some nice amount of planning that I appreciate. Just makes it a solid action story, and it's entertaining, even though it's like the lionization at the very end does veer into like hagiography, which it's kind of like yeah, okay, I get the feeling that these guys are just grunts doing their best, but you're kind of pushing it just a little too far. Anyway, next one up is Crazy Keller, which is one of the few stories to feature a an American in the title role. It's like and basically, as Ennis tells us, like this guy was basically an attempt to make Donald Sutherland's characters from MASH and Kelly's Heroes. It's like it's like into a comic book hero. Like um, Keller was basically a guy who just like had his finger in every it's like black market operation. Was like always trying to like like turn a profit by just running any kind of like unsavory scam. And his partner Ariel was just like there to like like offer like moral support and just like quiver in fear. And basically didn't act kind of like the World War II equivalent of Radar O'Reilly. So this story has like has Keller and it's like an Ariel basically being like finally like cornered by one of their like nefarious colonels who's like finally got their number. But hey, it's like you'll be able to I'll let you go if you can get this one German scientist out of it's like out from under the Russians thumbs. And this is basically like a kind of like a action comedy story. It's like as Keller gleefully, does this, and Ariel just like acts, it's like they're like, oh my god, what are we doing here? It's like up until the point where they start to wonder like, hey, why does like the colonel want this Russian scientist? And then they find out that, oh, well, you don't actually find out why they want him. All you know is that, like, what he's done. It's been they want him for something like bad stuff. But at the same time, though, it's like this is all being done while there's like all sorts of like crazy action going on. Like first from them stealing the scientists from the Russians, then like driving their way through a town infested with it's like with German soldiers and the Wehrmacht. So it's it's a pretty solid action comedy for what it's worth, and and as is the case with all the stories here, it like doesn't drag on long enough to get old, and it features some really solid art from Chris Burnham. It's like who's all good with detail and good with the ultraviolence as well. Definitely one of the it's like one of the better stories here, and also it's like something I kind of wish that we had like a nice Crazy Color collection so I could read more about this because while the well, there's some of the stories here. It's like they are published elsewhere. It's like not all of them are. So basically, like some of these, like this battle action one shot is probably gonna be like the only point where you get your taste of some of these, such as Crazy Keller, or in the case of Dredger. Dredger, well, he's basically like, as Ennis puts it, a man of his time, and the time was lucky to have survived the man. He's just basically your kind of like Dirty Harry turned up to 11 in the sense that he gets the job done for the British government, but that job done may involve lots of property damage and lots of people dead, usually very bad people. So it's not really a big issue. But this story with art, some nice art by John Higgins. In fact, the art's always good. It's like in these stories, that's never going to be an issue here. But basically it starts off with with a couple of like higher ups in Dredger's office trying to figure out, oh, Dredger's like too much trouble for us. We figure out what are we gonna do to get rid of him. Oh wait, like we're getting like one of those new women, who's coming over to see the office. Like this is 1980, so women running a an office of the British government. It's like this is like a new thing, and so they figure that, hey, it's like with we just have her like come face to face with Dredger's latest overly violent adventure. She'll faint like and want him and like have him gone. Um, Problem is that it's like they didn't count on story logic working against them here because, well, we all know that, hey, someone like Dredger, like he's working, he's doing the Lord's work here. Just I'm like taking out the bad guys. In this case, a rather like a Saudi businessman of rather dubious it's like moral integrity. It's like, and yeah, well it's like smashing up a guy in a wheelchair who's done some bad things in the past, throwing a 80-year-old gang lord into into a fridge. It's like, and also just shooting up some dudes in the Savoy. Well, it's like you think, okay, well this is all bad, but it's like if he's gonna survive, then well, what kind of woman is the it's like is this new person going to have to be in order to let him get away with it? Consider that, and even though I could just about see things coming, like the ending was still like amusing enough that I liked it. In fact, like I said, the it didn't go on long enough for me to get bored or annoyed with it. All right, next up is another versus strip. This is Hellman of Hammerforce versus Glory Rider. Hellman is basically a is one of the exemplars of the Good German um, series that that um, that ran in battle because basically it's like they in order to like foster like peace during wartime, like they had to basically show that okay, yeah, sure, a lot of Nazis were bad guys, but there weren't all bad guys. There were some guys who were just like just were really disgusted about Hitler, and even though there were some people, the majority of them were just like truly awful. Hellman was the was one of the exemplars of this this thing because he was basically the guy who just was looking to fight a clean war and was disgusted with a lot of the stuff that Hitler was doing. So he basically tried to try to avoid like doing really bad things. It's like as he fought for the Nazis. That became like a much thornier like task as the story went on as Ennis assures us. But this one, like, well, Ennis actually has a nice matchup in Glory Rider, which is basically a story about a conniving it's like American let's see, it's like a conniving American colonel named it's like let's see, was it Jeb Ryder, who basically is like has a long history. His family's got a long history of wartime achievement, and he's looking to get his in World War II. And apparently, the strip basically just had him, you know, just like just looking like he was just about to get his just desserts, only to like finally escape the jaws of defeat at the very end, much to the consternation of his like of his supporting officer, Sergeant Hiltz. Um, Hellman versus Glory Rider basically pits the two together as it's like as Jeb go does his does his thing as he just like sees Hellman's crew like just like, hey, it's like, it's easy pickings, I'm going for him. And unfortunately, like, Hellman is too smart for this, and so he knows how to how to back off and then take lure them into a trap, as most of like Jeb's crew are shut up right then and there. Eventually, it's like like the fight turns into a stalemate, and Hellman winds up having to evacuate his tank along with Sergeant Hiltz, and they share like a nice moment of commiseration as like they get to know each other and realize that okay, this crowd isn't too bad, and this American guy, well, he could use some pointers on how wars actually fought. It ends on like on a suggested note about as Hellman tells him, yeah, maybe you want to consider just pow pow your superior officer and all. It's a nice notion, but it's not something that we're ever going to see like fulfilled upon. Still, it does make me kind of wonder more about what Hellman's adventures and his adventures are apparently ones that have been received a proper collection on these shores, and there's even an ad for it in the back of the book. All right, next up is one of the more interesting stories in this volume, and also one of the more tragic because it features art from the legendary Kevin O'Neill. Um, aside from like drawing Nemesis the Warlock and it's like and corrupting the brains of like so many British youth back in the 80s. He's also best known on these shores for working with Alan Moore and drawing the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, for which hey, that's enough to assume him of legendary status in my book. For this story, however, Kids Rule OK is apparently like a one-off story in action that was most known for its infamous Carlos Ezquerra illustrated cover that basically had this ruffian, this young teenager with a chain about to like bring it down on this poor cop's head because apparently like aggro is a way of life and kids rule okay, as the cover tells us. It's basically a like a it's like a type a like a post-apocalyptic story where like the plague has killed off most people over 20, and now the kids are just gonna do whatever they want, like as they rule the streets. Now the story is told in two parts. Basically, part of it is just a bunch of editors just lamenting over, my God, what have we actually written? This is gonna cost us our jobs, because apparently in real life this is one of these stories that caused the downfall of action, and in fact involved a very respected person in the BBC, um, like tearing up a copy of Action in front of its editor's face. But as Ennis tells us that this respected person, Frank Bow, well, apparently it's like later on he was it's like it's like he was had a huge public downfall in whirlwind of hookers and coke some 10 years later. So funny how that works. But that's that's they said the editors like lamenting over what they've created is half the story. The other half is showing us just what this kid was doing. The kid who was like bring down this chain on the cop, and what just what he was like what was going through his mind. And well, it turns out that it's like he was just doing it for kicks because hey, it's the apocalypse. This is what we're gonna do. And then his friends politely inform him, hey, yeah, you did kill a cop, but it's like we're not actually sure if this is like the apocalypse and all. I mean, like, yeah, we sure there may be this plague going on, but no, we just set this bus on fire, and there wasn't anybody inside, and we haven't actually seen anyone dead of the plague. So our protagonist realizes that, oh my god, I've actually killed a cop, and it's not actually the apocalypse. Like, so basically, it's just taking the setup of the story and just interrogating it for the like, hey, wait, what's actually going on here? So it's pretty funny, and you can tell that O'Neill is having a lot of fun just drawing all these over the top characters. And I love the bit at the end when you realize that when the cops finally get their hands on our protagonist, you know they come to their own conclusions about, hey, you know what? It is the apocalypse. We can do whatever we want, which is kind of like as cops will do and all. So, and then the volume closes out with a return to the world of Johnny Red, but also Ennis giving us a first for the for the series, because one of the key supporting characters from Johnny Red was Nina Petrova. It's like a female Russian fighter pilot, or like one of the night witches. It's like that used that was infamous for flying like night missions in like over the skies of Russia. It's like, and this is basically the first time that she's been given like her like starring role in her strip, and so basically it just shows us just what go like a standard mission like for her and her crew. It's like as they go and try to take out the base that Von Jurgen and Screamer it's like are currently just like yelling at each other or having a polite debate about what actually went wrong in the mission at the start of the volume. As is the case, it's like, well, you kind of hope that things are going to go well. Things rarely do, and there's a lot of tragedy here, and it's like then the real heroes are unfortunately not not given the due that they're entitled to. But Nina, it's like she's able to find a way to rationalize things in the end and and keep going, which is admirable in itself. It's like it's nice. It's like and it's like kind of it's again it's a nice cool way to end the end the volume, which is a bit on the slight side at 96 pages. In fact, that's probably the only real issue I can have with this, because this is definitely one of the better things I've read from Ennis, who's if you've been reading my reviews of his comics, like he's not the like dependable everything he reads is automatically worth buying writer like that I grew up reading, but he can still like put out stuff that like I feel confident in recommending. This one though, well, problem is that it's 25 pages, 25 bucks for just under 100 pages. And while everything here is like a is like it's good, you know, it still feels kind of slight for what it is. Especially when you consider that you can also pick up his Johnny Red miniseries with Keith Burns for 20 bucks. This is an eight issue collection, and it does a good job of like telling I'm showing you the appeal of the character as he, has to like has to deal with the machinations of the like of Russian like of the Russian command. It's like while also working to keep his crew alive, especially in this case where this is a very special mission where like his where this team is basically managed to find a way to succeed themselves to death as a couple of members of the NKVD, basically said, we've got a mission for you, and since you guys are the best, we want you to do it, but we don't want this Englishman coming along. So Johnny, Johnny and Nina left back at the base trying to figure out what's really going on, And when they do, well, it's going to take them, it's like not just into the it's like into conflict with good old von Jurgen, but also with it's like with the conflict with the NKVD itself, and maybe a certain very thin mustachioed German Führer as well, because even though the series seems like it's it might seem like it's reaching at times like, oh my god, this is like trying to be a very important, very epic series. Well, there's actually some like pretty solid surprises as well. And even though it's like I can't really say that the what if scenario Ennis posits for the main plot of the stories actually happened, it sure sounds plausible based on what I've heard about Stalin over the years. And also it benefits from Burns's gritty and detailed style. And even though sometimes his his dogfights can be a bit hard to follow, it's still impressive to see the detail with which he renders everything. So even if you're if you're kind of if my description of battle action has you somewhat on the fence, I can assure you that Johnny Red the Hurricane is definitely a game. It's a better value for your money, and it's like maybe, and if you look, it may even make you interested in checking out some more of the stories here in Battle Action. Also, as a side note, Ennis also wrote another character as a distaff relation to the series called Battler Britain. Like he's basically this your stalwart, um like British fighter ace, and he's in this time in this story published by Wildstorm way back in the aughts. He's it's like he's basically finds himself having to work with the Yanks in order to create a credible fighting force as they face down the Germans in Africa. It's like I said, it Britain only ran briefly as in reprints during in battle, but in terms of characters that Ennis wrote for British war comics, it's like a worthy companion piece. So overall, it's like I think that battle action, even though I enjoyed it, it's certainly one for the completists more than the sorry about that. It's more for the completists than the casual comics fan. But speaking as an Ennis completist, a confessed Ennis completist, I will say this is definitely one of the like better things from this like from the from the kind of titles classify that, and it's really only held back by its price tag and page count. So overall, it's pretty solid. And in terms of like Ennis War comics, it still proves that this is kind of the genre that he's most comfortable with. He can still deliver like the most consistent results when it comes to entertaining reading.
Sounds good. Um, so yeah, I don't think there's a lot else I can say on top of that one. So, what do you have for us next time?
All right. Well, let's see. Tom Taylor and Danielle DiNucolo are wrapping up their s- their creator-owned series at Boom, Seven Secrets, with volume number 3. So so unless there's some surprise there, like all of my thoughts on that next time we meet.
All right, and we'll catch you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, laters.